I'm Steve Guggenheim, and this is Travel with Googs. The biggest surprise when you get to Barcelona is the city's size. It just goes on and on and on. It is huge. It is 39 square miles with a population of 5.5 million people. What you will see in Barcelona will boggle your mind, and it's worth the trip just to view it, just as some people go to India to see the Taj Mahal. I'd never heard of La Sagrada Familia, but it is the most amazing individual building I've ever seen. I didn't know what it was. Turns out it's a Catholic basilica that, when finished, will have 18 towers, one each for the 12 apostles, one each for the 4 evangelists, one for the Virgin Mary, and one for Jesus. It was designed by Antonin Gaudi. The famous architect worked on it for more than 40 years before his death in 1926. Its expected completion date will mark the 100th anniversary of his death. It nearly covers a large city block. There are intricate carvings throughout, whimsical colored balls, modernistic statues, and different-sized towers. And that's just the outside. Inside, there are scores of stained glass windows in blues and reds and yellows and oranges and other colors. There are statues and a large organ. You have to pay to go inside, and there is an extra charge to go into one of the towers, and it's well worth it. You take a very small elevator that lets you out way above the city for astounding views of the area. Don't go if you're afraid of heights or have wobbly legs or easily get dizzy. You wind your way down a narrow circular staircase that is barely lighted. But the views along the way are incredible. Not only do you see the city, but you get a close-up view of the towers and lighted balls. But that's not all you see in Barcelona, which they could have renamed Gaudi because the famed architect designed so many of the city's landmarks. One of them is a whimsical building called La Pedrera. We were there in early December, but if you go in the summer months, expect long lines. The uneven stone facade makes it look like cave dwellings. Reminds me of something you might see in the Flintstones. We found both attractions on the hop-on, hop-off bus, which covers 2 routes. It's worth spending your first day doing this so you can get your bearings and to go back to see what you want. Walking around the city is a delight, especially Las Ramblas, a pedestrian-free street with a lot of different shops. We easily walked from the waterfront to downtown, stopping at one of the delightful outdoor cafes for lunch. If it's your thing, at one of the buildings is an erotica museum with a Marilyn Monroe-looking model waving to you from the second story of the beautifully designed brownstone. There are a lot of other beautiful shopping areas with high-end stores, but it's also fun to just roam around side streets to see what you discover. It felt very safe. Sometimes it's fun to just get lost in a city and figure out how to get back. The waterfront was rebuilt to house the 1992 Barcelona Summer Olympics. It houses a wonderful aquarium where you'll find sea life you won't see elsewhere. While there, we were told you can't leave Barcelona without seeing a flamenco show. Unfortunately, we picked a horrible one. There are 3 shows nightly playing at the City Hall Theater. The show seemed totally ad-libbed, with the dancers seeming to put on a show for each other instead of the audience. There were 2 odd singers. I would love to produce the show because it would be much more presentable. The 3 performers never danced with each other. I've seen flamenco before, and this one is to be avoided. Because of the cost, we stayed at a modern Sheraton hotel away from downtown and cabbed it to and from the area. While it's nice to be in the center of everything, it's also nice when you don't spend an arm and a leg for a room. The cabs all take credit cards, and it's only about $8 to go to the main areas of the city. One of the benefits to our hotel was the Mediterranean. I took a 20-minute walk to discover a beautiful beach. There were a number of workers cleaning the area to keep it nice and pristine. In fact, the whole city is clean with a lot of people working to keep it that way. The food was very good, but you have to be careful what you're ordering. I ordered fresh fish and got a plate full of sardines with all of the bones and skin. I had asked the waiter what kind of fish I'd be getting, and apparently the language barrier kicked in. But most of the time we had no problem communicating in English. I took a several-hour side trip to Montserrat to see the Black Virgin. It's nice to do something like that so you can discover the countryside. We crossed a bridge that is named for the early Jewish cemetery that was located there in Roman times. It's since been destroyed and is now a Christian cemetery. The trip took just over an hour. A black statue of the Virgin Mary and Christ Child was discovered there, and they built a monastery in the middle of the mountains as a result. It's believed the statue turned black because of the wax they used back then. The original monastery was destroyed and rebuilt. The views are amazing. You can take a cable car from below, but we took a bus. We even passed a group of bikers climbing the very steep road. Once there, you can take a cog railway to go even higher. There's a youth hostel and souvenir shops. Every day, there's a children's choir that puts on a concert. The tour began at 3 p.m. from downtown Barcelona, and that's a mistake, because it turns dark so early in December that I missed some of the views and could not do as much hiking as planned. The company should start the tour at 2 p.m. in the winter. A lot of people I've talked to say this is their favorite overseas city. I'm not sure I agree, but it is a nice place to spend a few days. But don't go in the summer when the crowds will overwhelm you. The temperatures were in the low 60s in early December when we visited. While not swimming weather, it's a lot nicer than being in the cold winter weather much of us experience here in the U.S. I'm Steve Guggenheim, and this is Travel with Googs.